Ernest Hemingway is one of the most consistently collected American authors in the market today. His books usually demand premiums, especially when they are unique, like the present copy of Hemingway's For Whom the Bell Tolls, Lot 37105 in Heritage Auction, September 13th Rare Books Auction in Beverly Hills. This wonderful copy of For Whom the Bell Tolls is an extraordinarily rare first edition, being one of 15 author's copies printed for Hemingway by Scribner's in 1940. It is bound in the publisher's full oatmeal cloth with the front cover stamped in black and the spine stamped in red and black. This copy is a bit taller than the trade edition, with uncut edges. In Hanneman's bibliography of Hemingway, we read about this edition of the book as follows. An advance issue of 15 copies, which measure 8 5/8 by 5 3/4 inches, were bound uncut in the same cloth as the first edition. It is also a presentation copy, inscribed by Hemingway on the front for M paper to his neighbors in Havana, Cuba, as follows. For Popsy and Frankie Steinhardt, from their friend and neighbor, this copy of the 15 original edition copies of this book. Best always, Ernest Hemingway. The book has dark soiling and damp staining to the cloth, with the spine somewhat darkened. There is minor smearing to a few words in the inscription, with some spotting and staining throughout the text, but mostly limited to the margins. It is generally a very good copy, with an intimate Hemingway inscription. For most indications, Hemingway was a constant source of frustration, neighborly and otherwise, to the couple for whom he inscribed this unique copy, Frank and Popsy Steinhardt. Norberto Fuentes, in his book Hemingway in Cuba, refers to the friction between Hemingway and Steinhardt as a private war. In Fuentes' work, we read that, quote, "Of all Hemingway's neighbors, Frank Steinhardt Jr. was the most affluent and the most annoyed by the writer's mischief. Under cover of night, Hemingway feuded merrily with Steinhardt for many years. According to Herrera Sotolongo, the physician, they were merely childish pranks on Hemingway's part. The writer enjoyed the undeclared war on Steinhardt, and there were great battles at the, quote, frontier, unquote, the boundary between the two farms. Herrera Sotolongo remembers how they made use of firecrackers and stink bombs whenever Steinhardt gave one of his grand parties. Hemingway would drag Herrera and his brother Roberto into the fray, in addition to any other friends who happened to be around. The best time for the operation was at midnight, when Hemingway would lead his men under cover of dark, through the trees, to the enemy fence. He demanded strict silence from his followers, and one could see how excited and happy he was as he approached the site for the action. They were armed with hollowed bamboo stalks, which were used as bazookas to shoot fireworks. After the attack, Hemingway was always the last one to cover our retreat, as he put it. But it was really to see the cups and saucers of the dinner guests jump on the table when the fireworks exploded, and to see how the grand ladies daintily excused themselves and left when the air wafted the aroma of the stink bombs their way. The action got really wild when Steinhardt unleashed his dogs. Once, when Hemingway and his friends interrupted still another soiree with fire from the makeshift bazookas, Steinhardt got so furious that he retaliated by shooting his gun 4 or 5 times in the general direction of Hemingway's house. But in Sotolongo's words, "Luckily, we were all lying on the ground in the darkness. He couldn't see us and no one was hurt." Mary Welsh, Hemingway's 4th wife, disapproved of these foolish games. Thanks to her, Hemingway and Steinhardt agreed on a truce, and early in the 50s the war between them ended. When Mary speaks of the Steinhardts in her book How It Was, they are described as charming and distinguished neighbors. She neglects any mention of the curious nocturnal battles in which her husband was captain of the guerrillas. Another anecdote regarding Hemingway's mischievous nature towards the Steinhardts comes from Jeffrey Meyer's book Hemingway, a Biography. Myers writes, "After he moved to Havana, Hemingway's friends were not writers and rivals, but soldiers and sportsmen, men of action with integrity and technical skill. His closest friends in Cuba were Mario Mayito Menechal, Eliseo Arguelles, and Torvald Sanchez, who enjoyed their leisure, participated in exclusively male activities, and valued Hemingway's passion for sport. Hemingway and Menechal would discuss sport, fishing, shooting, current books, local gossip, Cuban and world politics, while drinking gin with champagne chasers. Once, dressed as boxers with helmets and shorts over their trousers, they crashed a party given by Hemingway's neighbor, Frankie Steinhardt, whose father had built the Havana tramways." This copy of For Whom the Bell Tolls is surely one of the best Hemingway items to come to market in recent years, and it can be yours on September 13th in Beverly Hills. If you have any further questions or comments, please feel free to contact Joe Fay at 214-409-1544 or by email at joef@ha.com. Good luck and thanks for watching.